Abbas going to jail, I was about 8, over 8 years old, and the very vivid recollection is about being woken up very early in the morning and my father kissing me goodbye, waking up later to discover the house surrounded by police, and my mother trying to explain to us that we mustn't be afraid and that he'd gone away for a while and that he would be back. Of course, it was a very long while, almost 5 years before he came home again. What I remember of the time was the silence in the house, which at one time was very busy. It was like a thoroughfare of people coming in and out, of it suddenly growing silent, of a constant feeling of surveillance, of being, even as a child, being aware that there were frightening people who would telephone and say things on the phone. I remember seeing him after 3 months for the first time, when we were finally told that he was alive and that he was in Lailpur jail. I remember that when I walked, we sat down, my mother, myself and my younger sister, in the superintendent's office, and my mother was very afraid, and we knew that she was afraid that he had been tortured and that we would not find him physically in one piece, because that was what she had been told and that was what had been said to her on the telephone as well by people who were trying to get her to, inverted commas, confess. The office of the superintendent looked out into the jail courtyard, and my mother's back was towards it, and I was sitting facing it. And I still remember very vividly when I first caught sight of him crossing the courtyard, and I said to my mother that, I can see Abu. And she asked me, how does he look? She was so afraid of what he would look like, and I said, just the same. And he did look just the same in his kurta, muslin kurta, smoking a cigarette. That is perhaps one of the most strong images that I have. When he was finally released, there was first the false alarm in which we thought he would be coming home, and the act under which he was sentenced was abrogated. But he was re-arrested inside the jail before he could be released. And so my mother came back without him, which was a grave disappointment. I remember weeping into my pillow. We didn't come home that night, and we were so sure he would be with us. The next time, which was a couple of months later, when finally Justice Kiani signed the orders for his release, and my mother wanted to know how sure she could be that he would actually be allowed out of the jail. And he said, Mrs. Faiz, barring a martial law, your husband will be with you today. We knew that they were on their way back from Sahiwal. The house was, my grandmother had come, relatives were there, friends had already arrived. It was quite late in the evening, and there were a lot of flowers all over the house and garlands, and then it was my cousin, my khala, they were all there. The house was full of people. A tremendous contrast to what it had been during the years in which he was away. And then, when they finally arrived in the car, there was sort of pandemonium, and there was press, and there were photographers, and there we were, Mizu and myself in our night suits, dropping with sleep, but wide awake with excitement. And I barely slept that night. I remember waking up very early in the morning and going to my dadi's room and telling her that, he's still here. It's morning and he's still here. I can still recall simply the noise in the house of people, which was quite magical.